Hello everyone, welcome to my review of Season 3, Episode 3 of The Flash, titled Magenta. Before I go any further, I just want to specify that there will be spoilers in this review. It's great to see Jesse Quick and Harrison Wells back on the show. I was personally wondering, had the timeline changed them at all? Would they be different in any way? I probably should have realized that since they are on Earth 2, they are on a different timeline. They are on their own timeline, so Barry changing this timeline really doesn't affect them at all. But what has changed is that now Jesse Quick has gotten her speed powers, which, as I mentioned before, I kind of thought was going to happen at the end of last season, but instead they held it over for this season. The way she got them, I found, was kind of convenient or an easy explanation. She got them essentially by almost being hit by a car. I guess that adrenaline, that fear, that emotion in that moment, I guess, triggered her underlying speed powers. It also makes me wonder, is Wally going to get his speed powers as well? Because in this episode we saw that Wally is feeling very frustrated that he right now seems to be the only one in Team Flash that doesn't have any type of metahuman powers. And he's feeling kind of left out, which is kind of understandable. Harrison Wells in the episode was acting very strange to me. He was acting very odd. He was acting kind of unlike I remember seeing him last season, where he was genuinely distraught and freaked out about the idea of his daughter having these powers. I think he understands that with these powers come a lot of responsibility and a lot of danger, as we have seen with Barry over the course of 2 seasons. Having these powers can be both a blessing and a burden. There is going to be a lot of people who are going to attack you because of these powers. There's going to be a lot of things you want to do because of these powers. You're going to want to be a hero. You're going to think that you're perhaps invulnerable to certain things. So there is a lot of baggage when it comes to getting superpowers. I think that plays in directly to why both Joe and Barry don't really want Wally to get superpowers, because they understand how dangerous it can be. As we remember in the Flashpoint timeline, when Wally West was Kid Flash, he eventually died because he was a superhero. So while the people at Star Labs are dealing with Jesse Quick and testing her powers out, Barry is once again dealing with personal things, specifically when it comes to Iris, because now they are trying to start a more romantic relationship with one another. So he is trying to take her out on dates and be, I guess, more of a traditional boyfriend to her and stuff like that. But as we know with the show, things aren't traditional, things aren't normal. And for Barry to have a quote-unquote normal relationship is probably not going to happen. There is going to be a lot of extenuating circumstances. There's going to be a lot of problems when it comes to commitment. As we already saw in this episode, every time he and Iris try to go on a date with one another, he is called away to attend to something else. And that is just the life of a superhero that we've seen in many television series, in many movies, and comic books, and what have you. This situation is unique in the sense that Iris already knows all about Barry. She already knows who he is as a person. She already knows who he is as a superhero. She already understands all of this baggage. That is why I kind of hope they don't go the necessarily traditional route and, they try this out for a little while, it doesn't work, so they just decide to become friends. You can't have this much time building up to this Barry and Iris relationship and just throw it away after just exploring it for a little moment of time. You have to at least let this play out throughout the season, in my opinion. As the title of the episode suggests, Magenta is a new metahuman in Central City who is once again brought about by alchemy, playing his role of trying to change this timeline to be more like the Flashpoint timeline. But in this instance, he tries to change someone who doesn't really understand what's going on and doesn't really want to change necessarily. And that's where we get the character of Franny/Magenta, who is almost kind of this Jekyll and Hyde type villain. I do kind of like how that storyline ended up wrapping up. I think we got a villain who was not entirely evil in this episode. We got a villain who was almost a victim themselves, a victim of Alchemy's plan. I have had my problems in the past with Jessie's character, specifically in the aftermath of her being rescued. Right now, I think we're kind of getting a new fresh start with her in the sense that she has these new powers, she has another set of issues and problems to deal with, specifically when it comes to her relationship with her father. Her father trying to be this protective parent, which he kind of has to be, considering what happened last season, and I'm not quite understanding why she doesn't still seem to get that. But we got a lot of nice intimate scenes between the two. Specifically at the end, it was a nice heartwarming scene between a father and daughter, and one of the underlying themes throughout Flash is family. When it comes between Barry and his father, or Barry and Joe, or Wally and Joe, or Iris and Joe, a lot of the show has to deal with family. I'm also wondering where they are going to go with Jessie Quick's character. Are her and Harrison Wells going to return to Earth 2, and if so, is she going to become a superhero there? Also, I know they are seemingly very apprehensive with giving Wally West his powers, but please do so eventually. Don't keep teasing us with Kid Flash and then not fulfilling any type of payoff, because us fans, at least me specifically, want to see Wally West as Kid Flash. Also, during the episode, we're starting to see that Caitlin's kind of struggling with how to deal with her powers. She doesn't quite feel confident enough to expose it to anyone, even her close friends, because she doesn't know how they're going to react to it. Tom Felton's character, we're starting to see, is just going to be kind of this antagonist to Barry when it comes to working at the CCPD. He's someone who just seemingly hates Barry, and I'm wondering if there was more to him than just that. Because as we saw at the end of this episode, they saw the footage from the prison where the rival was held. And as we saw at the end of last episode, he was visited by Alchemy. Just the way that Tom Felton's character questioned Barry about Alchemy and if he had heard that name before, I found to be very suspicious. So don't be surprised if there's a lot more to Tom Felton's character than meets the eye. I would say that it was overall a rather decent episode of The Flash, not particularly great in any way. We did get some great moments, specifically seeing Harrison Wells and Jessie Quick again, and we got a lot of nice character moments, but when it came to the villain and stuff like that, it was kind of just more generic. I never really felt any type of peril when it came to Magenta. This has been my review of Season 3, Episode 3 of The Flash, titled Magenta. If you like this video, please check out my other episode reviews for the other superhero TV series.